Right now, I want to talk about this guy. This guy. So now, anybody who smiles like that, anybody who can't stop smiling like that, I'm always suspicious of. Would you buy a used car from that guy? I wouldn't. Would you? So this is Joel Osteen. He's the mega church pastor from Houston. And I don't know if you've ever met a shyster, then you'll know that that's what that guy is. That guy is a shyster. He lives in like a $10 million house. One of those guys. He preaches the prosperity gospel. God wanted me to have all this stuff. You know, all that stuff. It's just funny. Nothing against people being rich or having money or being comfortable and all that stuff. But that guy's a charlatan, just so you know. And Oprah could not tell the difference between the devil and a saint. Oprah had no idea who this guy was. Anyway, the point of this video is during the hurricane. This is Joel Osteen tweets this out. Hurricane relief update. This is from August 28th. So that's Monday at 2:49 p.m. So about 3 p.m. Houston time on Monday, he tweets out, "Our hearts break as we see the damage and destruction in our city. Please join us in helping Houston recover." Please join us in helping Houston recover. So that's what he tweeted out at 3 p.m. on Monday. And then at 5 p.m. on Monday, this headline hit, Joel Osteen shuts megachurch amid flooding crisis. That's from the New York Post. Joel Osteen shuts megachurch amid flooding crisis. That's at 4:50 p.m. So 2 hours right after that. So there he is. Mr. Smiley Pants, Mr. Milyuner, Mr. Jesus wants me to be prosperous. I want to help everybody in Houston, except you can't come in my church. It's a little bit like when Mary and Joseph went to Bethlehem and nobody would let them in, right? Isn't that kind of, there's no room at the inn. Except he's got a lot of room, but he's not letting anybody in. This isn't for you, victims. This is what he tweeted out on Monday at 4:01 in the morning. Jesus promises us peace that passes understanding. That's peace when it doesn't make sense. What doesn't make sense is that you won't open up your mega church. By the way, do you know how big his church is? Where they do their services, their church services, that's where the Houston Rockets used to play. Just so you know. That's how big his church is. He could have taken in a lot of people. So people wanted to go down to that church. They said the ministry spokesman, Donald Lofts, had claimed that the property is inaccessible because of surrounding waters. Can't come in our church. Get away. But our hearts are breaking. But get away from our church. Because there's floodwaters. Well, it turns out some guy went down there. A guy named Sean Salisbury went down there. This is from his Twitter feed.
Sean Salisbury here, and I live in Houston, and I'm outside of Joel Osteen's Lakewood Church, and I know people are wondering, where's Joel Osteen in Houston when we're going through epic floods and people have nowhere to go? They say it's flooded here. Well, maybe in the basement, but not here. You know how many thousands of kids and families, even if they can't get here, at least offer it. At least show you care. The millions and millions of dollars made, and the people who come worship you every single Sunday. Every single Sunday. And I'm a fan of Joel Osteen, and I'm a God-fearing man. But there is ways to get here, and people right around here are suffering.
Why would you be a fan of Joel Osteen? If every Sunday he preaches all this bullshit, tweets out, our hearts are breaking, and you show up at his church and he's not letting anybody in and you know it. I'm a fan of his. Why would you be a fan of that guy? You can't get there because of the water? He just said he got there. Listen to him.
I got here. I drove my truck here. There's kids out there who need shelter, and wouldn't it be nice if a man we worship would just show his face and tell us he cares?
No, he wouldn't do that. But the church did say that this is their spokesperson. He said it makes no sense to open church doors. So he's admitting the church doors are closed. We're not opening them. He says it makes no sense to open church doors when the city and county are already treating thousands of flood victims at nearby George R. Brown Convention Center. So that means we're not opening our doors because they're already taking care of people at the convention center. It makes no sense for us to open our doors. So he's admitting we're not opening our doors. He goes on to say that convention center has everything inside there. Medicine, doctors, places to sleep. It's amazing what they're doing there to make people comfortable.
Why wouldn't the house of worship open its doors immediately, initially, even perhaps before some of the other shelters?
We're all about helping people. This is what the churches and our church is all about. So I think I don't know if it's unfounded, but I think if people were here, they'd realize there were safety issues. This building had flooded before. And
so now he's changing his story again. Look, we're always open. We just didn't have and it went from where we wouldn't, why would we open our doors? It doesn't make any sense. There's a convention center. Then it went to our doors are always open. Then it went to, we had problems. We had flooding issues. So now he's back to, it wasn't open. Isn't that funny? They keep going back and forth. He just contradicted himself.
we were just being precautious, but the main thing is the city didn't ask us to shelter this.
The main thing is the city didn't ask us to become a shelter. The city did. We're waiting for this government. You know how those Republican Christians at mega churches love to wait for the government to tell them what to do, especially when it comes to helping flood victims. Well, the government didn't tell us to help them. I thought you have a bigger boss. His name is Jesus. So this guy is just a liar. And it doesn't take any light to see through this guy. This guy is a charlatan of the first order.
These heroes behind the scenes, they are the real heroes.
We have 5 mosques which are operating as shelters as well as distribution points. Hundreds of families are staying in our places.
We have 500 plus volunteers signed up. I called Friday morning to our doctors. Within 2 hours, I have 50 doctors signed up. It is people like them who are helping out. When was the last time you went to home?
I went 3 days ago.
This is part of our faith. So just like it's an obligation to pray 5 times a day and fast 30 days a year, this is an obligation to help your fellow human beings. Just like I would treat my family, that's how we are treating these people. They have come to our home. We are their hosts, and we want to treat them like a VIP.
The one minor good thing that come out of this horrible tragedy is that the flood outed the fake Christian Joel Osteen. Although I'm guarantee you none of his followers, they won't let it bother them. They're good at cognitive dissonance. They go to a fucking church where the Rockets used to play. Church. So guess who is taking care of people in Houston? Guess who is taking care of people in Houston? Well, Texas Muslims are turning mosques into shelters to help Harvey victims. Isn't that funny? Because Joel Osteen, he had to have everybody in the world beat him over the head on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and the Today Show on NBC had to hit him over the head. Hey, you know you're supposed to be a Christian, right? And then he finally opened up his doors to his mega church to let people in, finally, on Tuesday. But here we are in Texas with the Muslims, and here's a guy named MJ Khan. He's the president of the Islamic Society of Greater Houston, and that's an organization that represents 21 Islamic centers in the area. He said in a phone call on Tuesday that 4 of the ISGH's member mosques are now open as round-the-clock shelters. 4. Immediately, 4. This is an obligation, a religious obligation to help others, Khan said. When you give, you don't give only to your own family. You give to anybody who needs help. Khan explained that with Harvey bearing down on Friday, the ISGH had the idea to offer... So this on Friday, the Muslims get it. They're like, hey, maybe we should get out in front of this. Maybe we should start thinking about helping people on Friday. So on Friday, the ISGH had an idea to offer mosques as shelters to anyone who needed refuge. The problem, he explained, was that many of the roads weren't passable. As of Tuesday, Khan said, 4 mosques were operating as fully equipped shelters, staffed and stocked by local volunteers. In fact, there were so many volunteers from Houston's Muslim community that Khan began sending them to help in city shelters and at Houston's convention center. In addition to the immediate relief that shelters are providing, Khan said aid in the form of money and supplies has been coming in from Islamic organizations all over the United States. We have truckloads of supplies coming, Khan said. He added that the ISGH had put together a list of 50 doctors from the Muslim community who were willing to be on call and offered it to the city of Houston. 50 doctors. So this guy organizes 4 mosques, staffs them, stocks them, and opens the doors. Plus, he rounds up 50 doctors to go help the city. Plus, he sends volunteers down to he's sending volunteers around the whole city. But you know, if you listen to Sam Harris, he'll tell you that Islam is the motherlode of bad ideas. But there you go. And that's not to say that Christians are bad people, because Joel Osteen. I'm just saying Joel Osteen is a bad person. I'm saying I'm sure lots of Christians in Houston helping lots of people. Lots of Jews, I'm sure, helping lots of people. Lots of all religions helping people. I'm just showing you as a juxtaposition with Joel, fake God lover, and people who are actually living their faith.